All right, let's see. People are here already. That's nice. Oh, the chat's been going since almost an hour ago. That's nice. And I am live. Tis the Nazarite, bringing you that Hebrew lore from days of yore, continuing our broadcast on Rav Kook's Orot HaTshuvah and Q&A. Let's dive into Orot HaTshuvah, the lights of returning, the lights of repentance, chapter 15, 7. Rav Kook says, first of all, I hope y'all are having a pleasant evening, day, afternoon, whoever you are. It's nice to have you here. So let's dive right in. Right, speaking of repentance, returning, being that image of God, here's what he says. To the degree that a person knows his wrongdoings, the brightness of the light of HaTshuvah, of returning, shines on his soul, despite apparently not yet gaining the permanence of HaTshuvah in his heart and will. Nevertheless, her light surrounds and hovers over him, and it is already working to create him as a new creation. And those things that delay returning, that delay tshuva, when a person admits and knows them and does not turn his eye from their reality, their hindrance becomes less powerful and toxicity decreases. So, part of tshuva, and this is de facto in halacha, how to do tshuva, part of it is, for instance, confessing. Maybe it's not according to all of the different halachic rulers, but I'm pretty sure it's very much a consensus that confession is part of, right, vidui, kabbalah latid, different steps of tshuva, practical tshuva. How do you return? How do you repent? How do you atone? These are practical things that are written in halacha and in other books, but halacha makes it general, how do you repent? Obviously, we each have our own inadequacies and things where we fail or falter, and to the degree that we do that, we need to also return and repent. And so it's an individual and highly subjective thing. However, there are general things, and one of them is to confess, to say it out loud, to not run away. And Rav Kook uses the word know, in the sense of that there's a connection there, and it's, you're not turning a blind eye to it. And he says, to the degree that a person knows his wrongdoings, the brightness of the light of tshuva shines on his soul, because it's trying to counter that wickedness and make the person like a new creation, as Rav Kook says. And even things that delay tshuva, practical things that may hinder, when a person knows them too, does not turn his eye from their reality, their hindrance becomes less powerful and their toxicity decreases. You need to be aware of your positives and your negatives. Where are you weak and where are you strong? And part of humility is knowing that you still have a long way to go, and not just saying it, knowing, being very practical and knowing it to the degree that you know your wrongdoings. And this isn't an invitation to engage in wrongdoings, but to the degree that you don't, sweep them under the carpet or the rug or the sofa or whatever, then it's something that you carry with you. And as such, a counterforce can begin to stir and awaken if you give it room. And he continues and says, and from this, right, from the fact that a person, that tshuva is hovering like an aura, not yet completely penetrated, no permanence of tshuva, no permanence of returning. We're still falling, we're still failing, but we are holding on to that which is surrounding us and trying to penetrate, if only we would let it in. Right, that returning, that tshuva. And so Rav Kook continues, and from this, the light of tshuva begins to shine on him. And the holiness of the supreme joy takes its place in the essence of his very soul. And closed gates will open before him, and at last he will come to such a higher place that all will be leveled. So from tshuva being something like on the outside, something that hasn't yet penetrated, certainly not in fullness. Rav Kook, in the introduction that we read earlier in Orot HaTshuvah, he says that tshuva is something that was never brought to fruition 100%. Okay, so all will be leveled, closed gates will open before him. It means that when you make room for tshuva to penetrate, then it's something that you need to go with and walk with and talk about and with yourself, that is. Because you should always be striving to correct the wrongs. You should always be striving to make right what's right, make straight what's crooked. Now, sometimes certain things are closed and barred, and you simply can't make a dent in them. Sometimes it's really something where it's just a closed gate, as he says. When tshuva begins to shine, the more you let it in, the more gates will open. And at last you come to the higher understanding that all will be leveled. In other words, the good and the bad, you achieve a balance. You accept them both with grace and humility, having tshuva made its permanent residence in one's heart, mind, behavior, speech. Then you understand, you come to that higher place, that higher virtue, where all is leveled. And he quotes Isaiah 40, verse 4, "Every valley shall be lifted up, and every mountain and hill shall be made low, and the rugged shall be made level, and the rough places plain." A plain. That was the JPS Tanakh. Now, what is the preceding verse? Right? A voice cries out in the wilderness, "Prepare ye the way of the Lord." In other words, before Adonai comes, so to speak, before that divine revelation makes a fuller appearance, things need to be balanced and leveled. At least in the sense of when tshuva, right? Rav Kook here says that the holiness of the supreme joy takes its place. And he says in Hebrew, mitlabeshet. Mitlabeshet is kind of like that, it wears it as clothing. It gets inside of it. The supreme joy that you feel, we said tshuva has two facets. On the one hand, it gives you great solace and comfort to know you're on the way. And on the other hand, it's something which always puts before you these obligations of fulfillment and completion and being better, for lack of a better term. And so to prepare for the way of the Lord is to make things leveled. And we can learn from this in the way that the divine revelation is said to come here in the prophecy. Again, all the prophets and all the prophecies are pointing us back to Torah, which means, right, that humility, the holiness of the supreme joy. There is something about, right, holiness is what is set apart. Holy is sacred, consecrated, set apart, differentiated. Right? What is it that you make holy? That which you set apart for whatever task or purpose. The supreme joy, that greater joy, when tshuva begins to shine on him, as he says, it's not just in the aura, and it's not just sort of above him and surrounding him. It's something which has begun to penetrate to the degree that one lets it penetrate, and for him to really manifest who he or she are, that true image of God that only they can bring into the world. Right, in returning to themselves and consequently to Adonai, to God. Closed gates will open before him. And you will come to that higher place, that higher virtue, where, right, a higher place, but there won't be high or low, right? It's leveled. There's a balance in one's understanding. Not that your good deeds and bad deeds are balanced. No, it's that the way you conceptualize what it is that you have been doing until tshuva takes a permanent residence in your heart, that will be something that you will be able to address with a kind of level-headedness. And things across the span of time, throughout one's history, if they engage in tshuva, in returning to who they are, along the months and years and decades of life, if they dedicate themselves to being who they are, and letting tshuva shine, right, and repenting, returning, atoning, and being who they really are, that image of God, pristine and I won't say perfect, but to the degree that a human being can do it in this world. That's what we should be shooting for, to be the best we can be. That supreme joy that tshuva brings, let's say, it mirrors that essence of the very soul. There's something, how shall I put it? That supreme joy of knowing that you're holding on to a root that is most ancient. It puts you in a place which orients you in a way where you get to see that level, that all will be leveled. Kol hahadurim yityashru, he says in Hebrew, and you get to see that this is not some light switch, nirvana, divine revelation. No, these are things that you see in your life, day by day, month by month, year by year, decade by decade. Tshuva is something that is a continuous process. Because we'll always be doing something wrong. That's the thing, right? We are human. We fall. How do we get up? How do we return? How does tshuva gain permanence in our heart? Now for the Hebrew man, right? It's Hebrew man and woman. It's Torah, commandments, covenant. I shall go now to the chat. Let's see here. Sneezer, Bloodnose is here. Sneezer, or was here. Neil Warren, hello, hello. BMXers was here. Who else? Ella is here. Is that it? Robert Harrison is here. Yes is here. Tea Time is here. Tea Time, did you add 1911 to your name? Who else? Okay, I think that's what we have. 13 people here. 2 likes. Hello, hello. Good evening. Good evening. So that was today's Orot HaTshuvah. There is. Oh wait, I'll check on my tea. Hang on. Too hot. But hold on, I'll take the tea bag out. I think I left it in too long. Yeesh. Okay. So let's go with some chat. Hello, how are you? How are you doing? How's your day been? Okay. Sneezer says, right, shaloms were exchanged. BMXer says he's tired. I hope you get some sleep, just like Sneezer said. Watch when you wake up. Agreed, get some sleep. Sleep is the human superpower. Sneezer quotes, the person who loves their dream of community will destroy community, but the person who loves those around them will create community. That is lovely. Bloodnose says, such a true statement. He said to Sneezer, where does it come from? Dietrich Bonhoeffer. My mother registered for a course on him, so I've been seeing what online can encourage dialogue. Some very poignant quotes, he says. A God who let us prove his existence would be an idol. He continues and quotes, it is only because he became like us that we became like him. So that, again, that's a more Christian way of thinking. I mean, if you're talking about, wait, what do you mean? What do you mean became like us? Is this person Christian talking about Jesus, or is it talking about the divine, right? That divine image, Tselem Elohim. Well, yes, Bloodnose says we find God only in the searching for him. To make room, to create a vessel, it's of the utmost importance. And while it also may be that it is like a light switch where suddenly something changes and you become a changed person, fundamentally something just changed, right? It was like a dam that broke after many, many months or years of water building up, you know? And there is merit to that tshuva as well. But I think, I'm not going to say better, more commonplace maybe, is that tshuva where a person, he or she, make room for the divine to manifest in their life. They watch it perhaps at first as if they don't know, as if they are simply not testing God, but watching what will happen if they act more in the image of God. By their own definition, I'm not talking biblically or not at this time, I'm talking the way that one perceives God. I perceive it right through the 10 Sfirot. That would be my go-to there. Something like the Tomer Dvorah by the Ramak. Tonight live from Jerusalem, says Neil Warren. Indeed, I am live from Jerusalem. And what a blessed and bountiful night it has been after a long and fruitful day. I give so many thanks to Yah. It is no small thing, nor it is a small thing that you are here with me watching this. You could be doing so many other things right now, but you're doing this and it's lovely. There is meaning in every journey that is unknown to the traveler. Well, it won't necessarily be a good meaning, will it? But yes. Sneezer says he was one of the more vocal Christian preachers against Hitler in Germany and martyred for it. Whoa. Oof. Ay. What was the official charge? I'm curious. What did they levy against him? Robert Harrison says, hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel, for the Lord hath a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, emet, nor mercy, nor knowledge of God in the land. Yep, he has a bone to pick with us. The divine revelation demands, because we are part of this covenant, we took this yoke, this burden, this sacred work, Again, meaning work we set aside, not that Jews are better than anyone. We took that on, right? The yoke of Torah and commandments. And when there's no truth, nor mercy, nor knowledge, emet, rachamim, and da'at, then, well, bad things happen. Sneezer says, quoting again, "Let him who cannot be alone beware of community. Let him who is not in community beware of being alone. Each by itself has profound perils and pitfalls." Yeah, that's why I'm glad I've got family, because I'm not part of a religious community, and I haven't been for, I'd say, going on 15 years now. Sneezer says, he continues, the quote, "One who wants fellowship without solitude plunges into the void of words and feelings, and the one who seeks solitude without fellowship perishes in the abyss of vanity, self-infatuation, and despair." Right? O chavruta o mituta, friendship or death, said our sages. Bloodnose says, and if you don't believe it, you can find out for yourself. As will all truth. As with all truth, Sneezer replies. Sneezer says, "I spent many years in that abyss. It must have been incredibly lonely." I don't take it for granted, family, in the context of not being alone and being part of a household. And I'm so thankful that I decided to have a home so very early on. I had different abysses, if you will. Very few times in my life have I felt lonely or bereft of fellowship. Very few times. And I give thanks, because so many people are alone, so many people are spiraling into despair. Lol, already an hour behind and just started. What? Oh, yes, an hour behind. Ella says, hello. Hear ye, says Ariel Marshall. "For I am about to start broadcasting Hebrew lore from days of Yah, Q&A, from the discomfort of a human-powered, dual-wheeled mechanical human transportation device." Well, I'm not on the bicycle. Oh, I see. Well, yes, you are receiving the broadcast, I see. Okay. A car? No, dual-wheeled. Pretty sure it's his bicycle. A bike, yes. "I salute your commitment to poetic artistry of texting while writing." Indeed. I do too. Don't do it too often. "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge," says Robert Harrison, right? And he quotes Hosea that he sent before in the comments, and that's why I'm mentioning it. Sneezer says, "I disagree there. I think it's more that you accept HaTshuvah, you become more holy and understand more, and more places become unforbidden." Yes, you understand more about yourself and what it is that you should be doing, and you understand to such a degree that you are able to actually implement that which you know in your mind, actually bring it into fruition, and if not fruition, then to get the ball rolling. And that, right, it's one thing that feeds into the other. And it's on you to always be making the first move if you can afford to do it. And so, you know what? Starting over, as of now, let's go. Here's what I've done. Here's what I know I need to do. Here's how I'm going to do it. And I'm not saying that it should be futile, and I'm not saying that it should be something that you do over and over again and expect the same results. You need to be innovative. You need to continuously search yourself. And obviously, if you need to get help, professional help, whatever that, anything to do with that, yes, do that. But if we're talking about transgressions, let's say between God and between man and God, and you don't, well, no, let's put it this way: it's both. Both are, transgressions and wrongdoings. I won't differentiate at this time between Adam lamakom, Adam le'Adam, right, between man and God and man. So it's more that you accept HaTshuvah, you become more holy and understand more. Yes, but where does it begin? You need to accept it. In order for there to be acceptance, you need to have a place to accept it into, right? Somewhere, something. It needs a residence, if you will. And it doesn't mean that it needs to be permanent. But I think it needs to be something that is backed by action first and foremost, and then you can layer all of the wants and wills and, but first it's action, something concrete, something small, but concrete, that you can do, that you will do. Something, even if it's something concrete, let's put it this way. Sometimes you need to adapt a certain mode of being in order to bring you back to the center. And that's an individual thing, a highly subjective thing. And I wouldn't presume to encompass everyone's individual tshuva with what Rav Kook is saying here. It resonates with me because I thank God I've known this light of tshuva. And it still hasn't taken up permanent residence in my heart, but it's definitely something that I am immersed in. And I'm hoping for more of the aura tshuva to penetrate and make me a better person with every thought, with every deed, with every word, that I can do better, that I make an attempt to do better. And so in that sense, it's what Rav Kook says, and there's no disagreement, I think, with what you said. He simply is saying that there's that joy that he speaks of. Understanding can come with it, because joy that comes from tshuva, from returning to who you are, widens your perspective. It reveals you to yourself. It's mind-revealing, soul-revealing. And that's how that supreme joy kind of mirrors that which is the essence of the soul, and so it can dress in it can clothe itself in it. Because there's a vibration there that they recognize each other. Right? They make a connection. More places become unforbidden, like, yes, closed gates, things that were forbidden to you, they are opened. So yes. Right, holy is set apart. The more you set yourself apart, the more things that were once closed will become open. Set yourself apart in order for you to be who you are. And again, the way that however you want to actually make it happen for you in your life, that depends on what you think you need to do. Okay. Cars Mania says, I am here with open mind to learn, know, and understand. Hey, so am I. I'd like to think. Some people say that my mind is so open that the brain fell out. Or rather, two people cautioned me over the years not to be so open-minded that my brain falls out. I too have known tshuva, and it is in my heart. That is awesome. I simply say it doesn't have permanent residence. It certainly has a come-and-go residence. And yes, I'll leave it at that. But I still have so much to do. So much to do. Native Americans, Vietnam drafted. Says yes. Native Americans, Vietnam drafted, lost their super sense gift due to haircut, or perhaps it only worked in us, in the US. Well, which super sense gift? Can you be more specific? Yes, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Love the Lord thy God and neighbor and self, and you can't go too wrong. I concur. I definitely agree. Words to live by. Well said, Neil Warren. Well said. Meditation, 2-part. First, watch, listen. Second part, action. First part, watch, listen. Second part, action. Right, so to kind of integrate whatever it is that you went through during the meditation. Yes, it says, so for Hebrews it either works in Holy Land or it is a different type of sense. Well, certain commandments may only be carried out in the Holy Land, things like the tithe, things like the first fruit, and the different donations, right, and right to the priests and the Levites and the poor. Okay. A different type of sense? Well, look, many, many different teachings have been said about the land of Israel, the Holy Land, and suffice it to say that it is set apart for the people of Israel as a location, right, a place that occupies time and space, the Holy Land, right, and there's a connection there to the land, and we set it apart because of that connection. And more than that is the 4 holy cities, and Jerusalem from within the holy cities, right, and the old city, and they're in there until the holiest of holies in the temple. And many people can achieve great works and be righteous people in the diaspora and in foreign lands. But there's a kind of wisdom that at least is attributed more to the Holy Land. There's a kind of air, they say, in the Holy Land, which is conducive to learning and knowledge and the ability to attain a more sacred mode of being. And yeah, okay, let's leave it at that. So what do you try to do? Control bad thoughts. It entirely depends on the nature of the thoughts and how they trigger you. If it's something where it's anxiety and you keep envisioning terrible things happening to those around you, that's one thing. If you are looking at yourself as if you don't know yourself, and you get to know over time that certain bad thoughts cause you to spiral and act in a wrong way, then you need to first of all notice it, just like Ella said. Pay attention to it. Pay attention to it. Watch yourself. Watch what happens. Be aware, even as you transgress. And make an effort that day. First of all, continuous dialogue with the Most High. That's the fundamental, meaning that later on, even though perhaps your evil inclination or the adversary would say, oh, really? Now you're going to pray to God, where earlier you were doing things that were wrong? Now you choose to be all, sacred, religious, and set time apart for prayer? Don't listen to that voice. Say things out loud. Confess. Make a plan. Sometimes, even if it's the exact same plan, because who knows, I don't know what makes you tick, how you operate. And while it's true that people say that attributed to Einstein, right, it's doing the same thing, insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results, I believe that Teshuvah has a quality and an attribute of being able to get over one's weaknesses. And of course, like I said, when you need help, get help of whatever help you deem you need. But essentially speaking, there is so much more to you that's waiting to be revealed in the world. And to be able to be aware of the good is to be able to be aware of the bad and to how far you've fallen or went astray, transgressed. To not turn a blind eye to that, as Rav Kook says in Orot HaTshuvah. To the degree that you do that, a light has the potential of shining on you, countering that, if only you would let it in. Okay, hello from Austin, Texas, says Vanessa. Hi, Vanessa. Good to see you from Austin, Texas. How's life, Vanessa? Mac. Hello, Mac. What do you think about the emerald tablets? I have no idea what the emerald tablets are. I am ignorant. Please enlighten me. What are the emerald tablets? I know that there were tablets, stone tablets, 2 sets. And I know that the emerald was the stone of the tribe of Levi and the high priest's breastplate, the Choshen. But I don't know emerald tablets. I don't know. Cars Mania says, how do the concepts of Chosenness and universalism coexist in Jewish philosophy? And what does this tension reveal about the nature of Jewish identity and humanity's relationship with the divine? Well, Cars, here's how I see it. Even if one does grant the idea that the Jewish people were chosen or selected, there's a difference, but for all intents and purposes, singled out in some way. That is something that we need to continuously earn and merit day after day after day. We're not the chosen ones unless we act like the chosen ones. And what were we chosen to do? We chose to take on the yoke of Torah, and God chose us for that yoke when we agreed to do it. Midrash, the external teachings say that before the assembly at Sinai, God asked the different nations if they would like to accept the Torah, and each with their own thing said, nah, that's not for us. So, the way that chosenness and universalism coexist is because we are chosen to carry out the Hebrew path, fulfill our covenant, and then, like a pond into a river, it ripples out, and that universalism doesn't mean that everyone becomes Jewish. It means that we return to a state of Eden, just humanity, nature, God, no Israel and Goyim, no Jews and Gentiles. And the tension, as far as Jewish identity and humanity's relationship with the divine, I go back to Eden. I always go back to Eden before all the differences, before all the cultures, before all the languages, before all the religions, before all the faiths, before all the gods, before all the different tongues, before all the phrases, for all the wrongdoings. That place where we wait. This is an official break from the important subjects currently being discussed in the chat to say, hello, my son, that's it, as you were. Thanks, Pa. Appreciate it. So, what does it reveal? It reveals that if we were chosen, we need to continuously earn that title. And if we're going to claim that title, we better damn well back it up with action and deeds. And what does it mean to be chosen? What does it mean to be selected? What does it mean to be singled out? What does it mean to take on a yoke? What does it mean to carry a burden throughout the generations? What does it mean when the symbol of that very holy and sacred covenant is given primarily at 8 days, the covenant of Abraham, the Hebrew man? It's above free will. It's above one's choice. It's something that is in your flesh. And so the Jewish identity and humanity's relationship with the divine, it doesn't matter if you're a Jew, Gentile, man, woman, whatever you are, whoever you are, whenever you are, it's just talking to God. That's it. However you perceive God, and I don't know God, all I know is how God reveals himself to me. I am always constantly in a very ongoing dialogue with the Most High God and with the way he's revealed to me in the world. So the nature of Jewish identity is that it's temporary. It's something that will eventually be part of, well, first of all, Jewish is the kingdom of Judah. Judah is one of two kingdoms. So let's start with that. Jewish identity is Jewish identity as we know it is more along the post-destruction of the temple. But that Hebrew identity, that root Hebrew thing, as I see it, is a human thing. And different people, different cultures, different ways and faiths and religions have their way of climbing up that very same ladder in a different way, right? Like different offshoots that work their way up to a seed and to a root, to a single root, the place where the roots split. So, what does it reveal about the nature of Jewish identity? That, well, for me, growing up modern Orthodox in Jerusalem, and to parents who made Aliyah, who were born in the diaspora in the US, my Jewish identity was very strengthened. And because they were kind of hippie-ish and still are in their outlook, humanity and Judaism were always part of the household and the language and the way we talk and what my parents teach us. So I don't know what it reveals as such. I know that for me, it was revealed as be a mensch, be a person of virtue, be someone upstanding, be someone who, be, well, a man or a woman of virtue. Let's keep it at that. Right? Be a good person. That's what my parents told me. That's Jewish identity and human identity rolled into one. As for the relationship with the divine, like we said, the more that you are able to return to who you are, the more gates are open, the more things that were forbidden are become, well, no, I mean, Sneezer said things that are forbidden, but I use a different term. Okay, let's continue. Vanessa says, life is good, blessed. Hey, that's great to hear. Jewish is 3 tribes. Wait, I'm sorry. Where was it? Jacob the Jew is here. Hello, Andre Walter is here. Hello, Andrea. Who else? Nails Falach, free Palestine. I agree. Free Palestine from Hamas. Free Palestine from terrorism. Thank you for supporting Israel, Nails Falach, or Falach. Thank you so much. Free Palestinians from terror. We want to live side by side with them in peace. So may Hamas be eradicated even right now, this very moment. Hebrew doesn't exist. It's a Phoenician Canaanite language. Yes, I'm well aware. You can call it whatever it is. By the time it came down to here, right, insofar as it is certain letters from a certain direction with certain punctuation and a melody, as far as I'm concerned, the Hebrew language can be entirely lifted. It doesn't matter to me where it came from. What it represents, the divine revelation that is in the letters, as it were. The way that the letters are, the melody, the crowns, the punctuation. There's a whole thing there. If you say Hebrew doesn't exist as a language, fine. Hebrew is a covenant. Hebrew, with some people, according to some interpretations, means that you're on one end, you're on one bank of the river, and the entire world is on the other side. You're doing your thing. Ish Ivri, Hebrew man, someone who is on one side, doing their thing. Okay. As a Jew, you can't say you don't know God. Of course I can. I don't know God. I will never know God. All I know is how God reveals himself to me. Because God is the creator, and I, as a creation, cannot perceive, cannot fathom, cannot know, cannot make that connection. Not when I'm in a living, breathing, walking, talking body, nor afterwards. There will always be a split between me and the creator. So yes, Jewish is 3 tribes, Levi, Binyamin, Yehuda. Correct, parts of Levi, because there were Levites and priests who were among the 10 tribes when they were exiled by Assyria, by the Assyrian king. But yes, 3 tribes, parts of Levi, Benjamin, and Yehuda, who formed the kingdom of Judah. That is correct. Nazarites are hippies sect. Not, let's put it this way. I don't entirely think so. I think there's a kind of, look, by hippie, if you mean hip, aware, yes, the Nazariteship is something that helps you gain awareness insofar as you carry it out and you follow the calling that you were, right? So, yes, I agree. Because in that respect, it's a hippie sect, for sure. Let's continue. Free your mind first, says Neil Warren. Casey Dyer. Hi, Casey Dyer, please say name. And I said it. Hello, hello, hello. Hebrew alphabet, awesome. I agree, the Hebrew alphabet is awesome. Aleph, bet, vet, right? Because bet is one of the 7 that get a dagesh, an emphasis. It can be bet or vet, pay or fey. There is no separation between God and you, none. See, that's where I disagree, but that's simply the way that I view reality. Right? I've known, thank God, right? Different divine revelations each and every day. Higher and lower in my perception of them, depending on the lens through which I'm viewing reality at that time and that place. It's that's the only thing that changes. The divine does not change, right? There is no up, down, left, right, top, bottom, strange, charmed in the spiritual realm. Again, these are all concepts and terms written by men for men and, humans. By humans for humans. And it mirrors the divine attributes and emanations and the relationships that they undergo. And it is inviting us to connect more precisely to those ongoing, very dynamic, breathing in and out fractal things, and to claim through action, commandments, covenant, and Torah, to claim our place in that hierarchy of divine revelation. And we can open up more channels, right? Hailing frequencies open, eh? Baroque Blues is back in the house. Hello, hello. Why does Yahweh letters, when stacked on top of each other, look like a man? Where does the Star of David come from? Where is it in your Torah? So Yod Hey Vav Hey stacked one on top of the other looks like a man, because just like I exactly said, the way that God manifests to me, right insofar as I'm concerned, is through the 10 Sfirot, through the tree of life. The letters Yod Hey Vav Hey represent the higher and lower, masculine and feminine. So it's lower masculine, lower feminine, higher masculine, higher feminine, divine revelations. And that's why it looks like a person. Exactly like that. When you say that, when the Torah says that we are in the image of God, that's part of what it's talking about. That name, Yod He Vav He, is read one way and is read with the eyes one way, but spoken another. It's like a sword in its sheath. It's like one thing, you can separate it, right? But it has a place. And the name of Adonai dwells within Yod He Vav He. That is the image of God in those particular letters, with that particular way of punctuation. There are different ways of punctuating it, of course, depending on the divine revelation for which you are invoking or to which you would like to connect. Depending on the prayer, depending on the meditation, depending on the action that you're performing. Where does the Star of David come from? So the idea of the Star of David is that David represents the Sphira, the emanation of Malchut, and that's the 7th lower one. The Star of David is a 6-pointed star. The 7th point is invisible, and it's in the center, and it represents the 6 masculine lower Sphirot, emanations, revelations, and David Malchut. That Star of David, the six-pointed star, it was something that came, let's put it this way. It exists in very, very ancient books, thousands of years old, according to some traditions. Some people may say it's less. I don't know the different, right? Historically, academically speaking, I don't know if there is a consensus. Very, very ancient books. The way that I see it, it comes from Kabbalah. It is a Kabbalistic symbol, in essence, representing the 7 lower divine attributes, 6 points, and an invisible point in the center. And the reason Malchut is invisible there is because it only accepts that which is given to it. It has nothing of its own, let's say. It's a vessel. And the vessel, right, as the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu, he says that the most important thing about the vessel is its emptiness, which is why Malchut is empty. And it accepts, right, the divine feminine revelation, just like the human female, accepting the sperm from the male and bringing new life into existence through that process, and bringing, right, the joy and the feel-good hormones and the bonding and the connection, the intimacy of that act. In the very same way, the 6 divine attributes, the 6 points, they inseminate the bride, the Malchut, the 7th hidden attribute. So that's where it comes from, Kabbalah, as far as I know. Where is it in your Torah? It is not in the Torah in the classic sense. It is in the oral traditions, not the 5 books of Moses. But let's leave it at that. That's what I'm saying. Carsmania says, how should Jewish ethics address the moral implications of historical and contemporary conflict over land and sovereignty in Israel and Palestine? So I'm far from a Jewish ethics major. I am not a learned man. I am not an educated man. I am not a scholar. I am not a rabbi. I am not anybody you should listen to. All I see, I just call it the way I see it. So, in my view, if you're talking about Jewish ethics, you're talking about the Torah. If you're talking about the Torah, you're talking about the written Torah and the oral Torah. The oral Torah is one which was written down. It should not have been, but it was, out of necessity. So, having said that, historical and contemporary conflicts over land, God owns the land. Let's start with that. Okay. God owns the land. We don't own it. If we merit it, we dwell on it. But it doesn't ever belong to us. It is simply given to us, if you will, as for safeguarding, for safekeeping, in the very same way that when Adam was created in Eden, he was created to work and keep the garden, le'ovda u'leshomra, to do its labor and to keep it, to safeguard it, let's say. In the very same way, the Hebrew people and the Hebrew land of Israel, the Promised Land, the Holy Land, Palestine, whatever you want to call the region, it doesn't belong to anybody. And I think that as far as Jewish ethics are concerned, the severity of the persecution and the destruction and the exile, the immense forces of wickedness and evil that have been brought to bear on the Hebrew people. And you could say, yes, it's our doing, but as the Torah says, not evading that. But it, I think, caused us to become so lost that we have grabbed on to the one thing where we perceived the opportunity of returning to. After everything that we've undergone, people couldn't en masse return to God, because that's way too big for this post-traumatic people. But to go back to a physical land of our ancestors, well, that's a beginning of something, of returning to times when we know we were more prosperous, thriving, there was a kingship. Even if we don't necessarily want to de facto return to the kingship and to an anointed king and to the high court and the sages and halacha law, but the land in and of itself has been set apart, for many nations and people and religions, but first and foremost, literally, to the Hebrew people insofar as we take to the covenant of Abraham. Obviously, the 7 nations were there before that, and we took it from them in the war of conquest with Joshua and the army. So how does it address it? I have no idea. But I simply think that I'm not making excuses. I'm trying to find why it would be that some people would value land over security and peace. What would it take for a person to value earth over security and peace? And Israel is known for giving away land for peace, piece by piece. And that sometimes is not a good thing. Most of the times, maybe, I don't know. We have a tenuous kind of cold relationship with Jordan and Egypt, and it seems to last. So who knows? Maybe we'll become real brothers and good cousins once again sometime. As for sovereignty in Israel and Palestine, I think that it's more important to be able to live righteous and honest and good lives in a smaller strip of land than to occupy land where you don't treat each other right. I think that if we're going with the prime directive of the Torah, the prime directive would be return to Torah, return to the covenant. And then you'll be able to merit this in fullness, and you will return. And when you return, there will be no war at the time. However, due to the circumstances of the nature of the times and what happened, and people were hanging on and returning to that which they could return to, not God and not the faith and not religion, but people started seriously contemplating going back to the land of our ancestors. And they did. When the Ottomans were there, I mean, look, a Jewish Hebrew presence was there throughout the entire time. Not a very large one, yes, but was there. And in the mid-19th century, when modern-day Zionism, if you will, reared its head, which started off as an Enlightenment secular thing of let's return to the land of our ancestors, let's return to the land of our fathers, not let's go and build the temple. It was let's go back to where we belong, very simply, historically, ancestrally. God and religion were not really a part of it, even though they are like inextricable from it in a kind of way, but Tzionut has its religious facets and its secular facets. And that, well, the religious and spiritual Zionism is thousands of years old, and the modern-day Zionism, the more secular, if you will, Zionism, as I said, started to gain more of a force in the mid-19th century, with more people making aliyah and groups, right? Aliyah Rishonah, Shniyah, and Shlishit, and culminating later on with the birth of the State of Israel and all the conflicts there. But sovereignty, I think that it would do us better to be better people to each other and to take on that Torah and the covenant and return to be who we really are supposed to be and earnest work on making ourselves as individuals better. And then other things, the blessings, the divine revelation will come of its own accord because of our doing, because of who we are and what our job is here in the world. That's what the Torah says. That's what I go with. So it so happened that it was perhaps more of a secular move in the beginning, with the spiritual now being laden on top of it, if you will. Not fully either yet. I think that it's caused many problems, but I understand it, obviously. I must understand it. I can't not understand it on a personal and an individual level, and on a security level, yes, that too. Matt Henneman, does a haircut exist in the spiritual realm? Well, I don't think hair exists physically, so I'm gonna say no. No, probably not. Okay, let's continue here. Max says, on Nibiru, it's a beautiful place with crops, but rules harshly. Harsh rules in Nibiru. Who are you, says Timothy Riley. I'm just a dumbass in the Middle East. And who are you? Mr. Riley. Dionysus, hailing from Anatolia. Wasn't Dionysus the Greek god of drunkenness and fertility? I suspect is a mixed heritage, cultus, closely north, sorcery, famous is Egyptian. Are we talking trees? We can. If by trees you mean herb, by all means, what do you want to say about herb? Or if you mean other trees, like tea tree, let's talk about the tea tree. Let's talk about tea tree oil. Son of Zeus. So yeah, the Greek god. Riley, no, we are walking dust. Oh, I'm sorry. I heard talking trees. I read not walking trees, talking trees. My mistake. We are walking trees indeed. We are walking, talking trees of life. Yes, Timothy. My bad. I misunderstood. Hello, good people, says Deepu. Hello to you, Deepu. Good to see you. Good evening. Good evening. Yes, I skipped Robert Harrison. I'm going to read a question and skip. And I think in order to keep the chat more engaging, I think this is the way I'm going to roll from now on. And it makes some sense because you can always repeat and rewrite what you want to write. And if I miss an hour and then I go one by one with the comments, the chat loses of its dynamic quality. And people who watch have told me. And so I think I'm going to keep it at this right now. So yes, I am going to skip. Oh, yes. This evening. Forest fruit. Oh, so nice. Berries. Am I glitching? I think I was glitching, but here I am. Was Yehoshua before Moses at Mount Sinai? If by Yehoshua you mean Joshua, then he was there at the foot of the mountain waiting for his master. According to tradition, anyway. Sneezer says we can help cover the basics and draw attention to what's needed. Neil Warren says Sneezer says to Neil Warren, 1 teaches 2, teaches 4, teaches 16. I think it's 13 iterations to cover the world. That's very important. That was Bacchus. Oh, that's right, my mistake. That was Bacchus, that's right. But wasn't it the corresponding one? Wasn't Dionysus the corresponding Greek? Wasn't Dionysus the corresponding of Bacchus? Or the other way around? Glitch in the Matrix, said Warren. Indeed. So was the tree in Eden a symbol for consciousness? The tree in Eden, which one? Are you talking about the tree of life or the tree of knowledge of good and evil? They both have a different sort of consciousness to them. One can say that the 6 days of the week are knowledge of good and evil, and Shabbat is tree of life. Only here it's happening here in this world. It will correspond in a different way that I can't even fathom when we return to Eden and partake of the sacred fruit of the tree of life that was set aside, that we were kicked out before we could partake of. So he's not the burning bush, says Timothy. Getting fed up with grocery store workers wanting to search my bag when I check out. Oh man, you wouldn't want to be in Israel. They search your bag everywhere you go, lest you blow up as a suicide bomber. Backyard fun country boy. That's a great username. What's up? Oh, I'll tell you what's up. Sun, moon, stars, trees, birds, clouds, a lot of different vapor, all the different spheres, right? The different layers of the earth. Okay, Sneezer says to Timothy, of course not, that was just a messenger. Oh, okay, so they're talking about something else there. Have you read Freud's last book of Moses and Monotheism or Douglas Reed's Controversy of Zion? So you told me to read Controversy of Zion just the other day, and I put it in my notes, and I haven't read either one of those. No, I'm not very well read. I know what I like, but I'm not very well read. Yes says, and Romans descended from Trojans ruled then. If you search enough, they still rule mixed with Esau's sons. So Esau's sons, Rome, a connection is made traditionally between Rome and Esau. Ariel says, just because I am a man with a scruffy-looking beard and hair, etc. Well, no, here's just because it's Israel. They search you pretty much wherever you go. Before you go somewhere, a mall, whatever, they'll search your bag. And a lot of metal detectors everywhere. Not each and every shop, right? But a lot of places. Neil Warren says, before the knowledge of good and evil, there was only good. Well, let's put it this way. Yes, I'm inclined to agree. Yes. Timothy Riley says Yeshua means what? For he's the son of Nun. Well, Yehoshua is Yod Hei Vav, which corresponds to a divine name, part of Yod Hei Vav Hei, and Shua means to hearken or to listen or to be of assistance, to be of help. It means, right, God will be helpful, or God helped. Max says the days of the weeks are God's being created. The days of the weeks are God's being created. What do you mean? I'm not sure what you mean there. Austin Johnson says, negative, God does not exist. If God is real, who created him? Where did he come from? So once again, I don't know God, Austin. Sorry to disappoint. All I know is how God reveals himself to me. So when you say real, I say, okay, we can say God isn't real. Cool. Revelations of God are definitely real. But you can say God is real or isn't real, and it makes no difference to me. As for who created him, I don't know, because I don't know him. Nor do I know where he came from, because I don't know him. He is unfathomable, unknowable. There's a divide which cannot be bridged, but we will always be striving to mirror that revelation, those emanations. Ella says, does the menorah have almonds, leaves, and branches? If so, why is it associated with trees? Well, the menorah had the gvi'im, the prachim, and the shkedim. Right. And why is it associated with trees? In what way is it associated with trees? It's associated perhaps with the olive tree because it was lit, the menorah of the seven-candled menorah, the solid gold block, which Moshe or Bezalel, though it was probably they say Moshe, who took the scalpel and the whatever it's called, and the hammer, if you will, and sculpted it from a solid block of gold. Unlike other things that were sort of put together, the menorah was from a solid block, chipped away and sculpted. It's associated with the olive tree, perhaps. Now, the menorah is also the official seal, the coat of arms of the state of Israel, and it's flanked by two olive branches representing our desire for peace and for the flood to end, if you know what I mean, huh? Ariel says, nobody asks women to open their bags, and frankly, if somebody is desperate enough to steal food, one should not be trying to prevent it. Well, I'm assuming there's some loss that's just, people being able to do it even if they don't need to, and kids, and I don't know, kleptomaniacs, who knows? I don't know what percentage would be attributed to that and what percentage would be attributed to someone who's like in poverty. So Nietzsche says, if God is not real, then what will we become? Austin says, if God created the universe, who created God? You can't answer this. No, I don't know God, so I can't answer it. If I knew God, I could answer it. Neil Warren says, no, it's the difference between duality and oneness. We will become dirt, says Austin Johnson. Yes, we are part dirt. We are all the four elements in one. Evil and good are dualistic. Yes, evil and good are dualistic. That's indeed true. Max says, Monday is Moni, Tuesday is Taidach, Wednesday is Odin, Thursday Thorsdach, Friday Freidach, Saturday is Shani, Loki, Saturn. Yes, what are you saying, Mac? What are you saying? Because if we're talking about the days of creation, so there's no Monday, Tuesday, right? There's Yom Echad, Yom Sheni, and Tu Shabbat. Can I ask what you drink? Right now I'm drinking tea, and over here I have water. Yes, correct, Mac. The days of the week are different gods and forces of nature. Timothy says, if Yahweh means I am, does Yahweh Rapha means I am the healer? No, Rapha is the past. Rofeh is the present, is healing. Rofeh is also literally doctor in Hebrew. And by that I mean a medical doctor. No. And Yod Hei Vav Hei means Haya Hoveh V'Yihiyeh, which is was, is, and will be. That's what that means. It's that three that becomes one, right, of the higher revelations of God. And it encompasses, let's say, it's, even though it is not in the hierarchy the highest name of God, it is one which is more closely attributed with life here in this world, spoken one way and read another, because there's a duality, right? The world of good and evil. Likewise, in the story of creation, in the beginning, it's Elohim, but then later on in the second story, it's Adonai Elohim. And this, once again, has to do with that duality. So yes, indeed. But if you want to say that, Timothy, you would say, I am the healer. You would say, Ani harofeh. That's what that means. Ani harofeh. Ani, I, harofeh, the healer. Or Ani hu harofeh. I am the healer. Judaism is Saturn worship. That's why they worship on Saturday. No, we worship on Saturday, but we call it Shabbat. We don't call it Day of Saturn. It is Shabbatai in the sense of that it's named after it. Because Saturday is Shabbat. Shabbat is Shabbatai. The Shabbatai is the Hebrew name of Saturn. And so there's a corresponding element there. But the Jewish, the Hebrew planets and the names were around before, as far as I know, before, let's put it this way, when was it called Saturn? When was Saturday named Saturday? I'm pretty sure that Shabbat is named Shabbat before that. Or maybe it aligns and completely goes hand in hand, time-wise. I'm not sure. But we worship on Shabbat because it has to do with Lashevet, Lishbot, with HaTshuvah. Okay. Let's continue. Is his name still spoken over the waters? Timothy says. Adonai means Lord. For instance, if you want to turn to someone and say, sir, you would say Adoni. And a higher Adoni, right? Adonai is the plural of Adoni. And it's also, right, it has to do with lordship. And Adonai is spelled Aleph Daled Non Yod. Again, 4 letters. And it sort of lives within Yod He Vav He. Right? You read it one way with your eyes and think it in your mind with that punctuation, but you say it another way with different punctuation. It's not read as it's written and not uttered as it's read. And so, that's what it means. It has to do with lordship, adnut. And it corresponds with the divine feminine presence when it's Aleph Daled Nun Yod. But if it's Yod He Vav He, which you pronounce Aleph Daled Nun Yod, it's a unity of male and female divine presence. That's because both of them act here. It's a world of duality. This is such good tea. I love it. Okay. Red Hulk, Green Hulk. Bro, you remind me of Korn and System of a Down. Well, I'm no Jonathan, what's his name? Jonathan Davis, right? I loved Korn's early stuff. I tuned out, not because they suck or anything, just because I tuned out towards the aughts, right, the beginning of the 2000s, but the 90s, man, and right around 2000, Korn, right, Follow the Leader, and Life is Peachy, and Korn, right, the eponymous album. System of a Down, I never listened through to one of their records, but I have heard their singles, and I enjoy it. Hello, says Arzu. Good to see you again, Arzu. Nice to have you on board. It's just over an hour, so I'm going to take a short break for a word from our sponsor. Oh, hi. Hello. Nice to have you here. I don't take it for granted that you're here. Those watching now, those watching later, you people, so much fun. So much fun to be here. So much fun to do this. It's so awesome that I can just press live and people are here and they're watching, they're viewing. And some of them are lurking, and that's cool, you know. I appreciate every like, every sub, every view, every comment, every chat. It's not something I take for granted that I can just go live at my heart's content, and there's conversation here, there's dialogue here. I'm being put on the spot here, which I enjoy. Though there's, to some degree. Ay, ay. Corn Slipknot, says Arzu. Sneezer says, I can confirm that from at least one other respected Jew that Yod He Vav He is the unification of male and female. Yes, that's correct. The black cube meteor stone existed since ancient times at Phrygia. Cube even to name from Cube Ele, aka Lilith. I'm not sure what Cub Ele means, but cube. I don't know what you mean. I don't know what the black cube meteor stone is. I'm not sure where Phrygia or Phrygia is, and I'm not sure of the name. As for Lilith, right? As for her, that succubus, that demoness, the wife of the Samech Mem, as it's known. I don't have dealings with demons. I have dealings with my own demons, right? Inside. And I don't have dealings with demons on the outside. It's said that when you do a righteous deed, right, when you do a good thing, a positive thing, you create yourself an advocate, right? A positive force for good in the spiritual realm to speak with you and state your merits. And if you transgress and do a wrongdoing and do a negative thing, then you create an opposition, a prosecutor, right, of some kind. And it's said that the different illnesses and the different trials and tribulations which befall us, we can't know the intricacies and the divine calculation of how judgment is carried out, but in some ways anyway, it's something that you brought on yourself. There is a chaotic and random element to nature and creation, of course. But your outlook, according to Torah, should be, where have I gone wrong? What can I do better? How can I make the wrong right? How can I make the crooked straight? Some things will be barred, but what can I do here and now, immediately? HaTshuvah, to return. Like we said yesterday, right? Orot HaTshuvah. Conceptually, spiritually, there's a HaTshuvah that already takes place when you simply even consider it and think of it and you walk with it and you talk with it, even if it has not yet implemented itself fully in your life. But walking with it and moving with it and having it stir in your gut and your heart and your mind, contemplating it, not in a way which drives you mad, in a way which brings you hope and shows you potential and sets goals for you to accomplish, short-term and long-term, practical ways of living in the world where you will be the most you that you've ever been and more than you know. Do you agree, says MW, with killing innocent Palestinian children? No, I do not. Innocent Palestinian children, I wish to live with them side by side and play soccer with them on Shabbos. That's what I want. That's what I would want to do with a Palestinian child, play soccer with them. It's a war. Don't start a war you can't finish, says Rasul. Agreed. In war, there are casualties and horrible things happen on both sides. War is hell, and it's just awful. Yes, give thanks in the moment. The gratitude attitude, Timothy Riley, is something that can help you with patience and humility. And patience and humility are the cornerstone and are the root of all good virtues. And gratitude goes right along with that. Because when you open yourself up more to goodness, kindness, humility, and being a blessing to yourself and those around you, you're able to recognize your place, your time and place in the world more clearly. And you'll be able to find a kind of equilibrium wherever you are placed and whatever it is you are doing. The outlook, the way that you move in the world will be one from a place of humility and not of vanity, pride, or anger. Or at least, if you go with humility, there is less chance of you being proud and angry and war is a live hell. Yes, I agree. The Palestinians didn't start this war. I wholeheartedly, respectfully disagree, Neil Warren. The Palestinians, perhaps, the good, peace-loving Palestinians, I agree. They did not start the war. Nor did the very minor, aged children. However, Hamas did start it, and unfortunately, gravely, they are using their own men, women, and children who want to live in peace as human shields, placing them between a rock and a hard place, between the tyranny of Hamas and the oppression, let's say, of the IDF, insofar as they perceive it. Do you agree with Israeli settlers and their actions of throwing Palestinians out of their homes? No. The one thing, there's no argument as far as I'm concerned that there's been a Jewish, Hebrew presence here in the Holy Land throughout the exile. There's no controversy as far as I'm concerned and no dispute whatsoever over the fact that we do have a part in this land by inheritance. So do those who were here before. They have a claim. They were here. Cool. However, settlements is the only thing where I'm able to say that I'm willing to talk about. Settlements, expanding settlements, throwing people out of their homes. You'd have to go case by case with me. You can't be so general about it. Sometimes this is literally backed up with contracts signed in the 1920s when Jews came in Aliyah, way before the establishment of the State of Israel and the IDF, way before Hagana Etzelechi Irgun. And they paid for these lands, yes? So, and of course you can forge documents and you can make up stories, obviously. So yes, I definitely, I don't agree with it. I do agree with it if there is actual substance backing up the action. That's when I would agree with it, but you'd have to go right case by case. And that's the only place where I'm willing to say, let's talk about the settlements. Let's talk. But there is obviously and absolutely no doubt that the more land we give away for peace, the more war we get in return. Normally, usually, with the Palestinian people, as they call themselves, then yes. Timothy says, do you not see Yeshua in yourself? I see Jonathan in myself. There is no Yeshua in me. He's a separate dude who died many years ago. But if you're talking about Yeshua as Christians say Jesus, which is supposed to be a part of God, I can say that when I'm lucky and when I'm fortunate, I can. There's a glimmer of the divine revelation, right, that inhabits me, and I'm very thankful for it, indeed, when it does. Mike says, free Palestine. I agree, Mike. Free Palestine from Hamas. Thank you for supporting Israel, Mike. Free Palestine from terrorism. It's good to have you on board. Elas says, Alat, symbol cube, Al-Uzza, symbol 5-pointed star, and Manat. So these are Muslim demons. The crescent moon were the 3 pre-Islamic Arabian goddesses. Oh, I'm sorry, then not demons, goddesses. My mistake. They were worshipped, at any rate, where they were worshipped. Okay. Rasol says, the only thing I don't support is new settlements in West Bank, except that I support Israel 100%. Right, so that's something I'm willing to talk about. Because I'm willing to accept that the IDF does many things wrong, the government does many things wrong, the state of Israel as such does many things wrong. Oh my God, Neil Warren, Woody Allen, Groucho Marx, and Frank Zappa. What? I think the way he's talking this time, he sees love and individuality just like Yeshua. Wait, Neil Warren. I love all those 3 people. I love Groucho and Zappa and Woody Allen. Hey. This morning I shot an elephant in my pajamas. How are you going to tell pajamas? I'll never know. Sorry, I messed that up. Okay. Baruch says the star in the moon is Venus. Yes, Venus is the morning star and the evening star. Right? Morning and evening star, that's Venus. Okay. Robert Harrison says that Yoel 3:2 says don't give land. Right. I'm agreeing with the fact that at the time the prophet said don't give away land. I also agree that the sages, seeing this, whether it's metaphorical, allegorical, or practical, pragmatic in the land, right, they decided to canonize it. Canonize this prophecy in the book of Yoel. Now, taking all that into account, I would rather live on a more narrow strip of land in true, real peace, honest, loving peace with my neighbors all around me. I would rather do that. But, having done that several times and being answered with war, terrorism, bloodshed, and hate, I will say that before we give any more land, the Palestinian population needs to be de-radicalized, and the Israeli population needs to be de-radicalized. We both need some time to heal with some peace, tenuous though it may be, and that will have to be on Israel's terms, because the Palestinian people, yes, some of them are good, honest, peace-loving people who don't want war, who want to just do their thing, raise a family, and be Muslim men and women or Christian men and women, whatever the case may be. And that's it. And die peacefully in their home and not from a barrage of rockets fired from Hamas or IDF. Rockets, missiles, whatever the case may be. So, the prophet says don't give land. Prophets point back to Torah. According to Torah, we need to go back to the covenant, back to the laws of Moses. And we are not able to do that now because we are in this constant existential threat. We can't do it as a people. We're not able to do it. We are constantly attacked and persecuted by those around us. And again, I don't turn a blind eye to this at all. Israel does things that are wrong too. I'm not a blind servant of the government or the army. I need to say it every time. Okay, I really do. Hey. So the prophet might say, don't give land. But I say the prophet points to Torah. And Torah says, return to the covenant. And I say that we will be able to have a much greater and more loving return to the Hebrew covenant of Torah and commandments when we can live at peace and be at peace and have a breath. A cleansing breath. And if that cleansing breath comes from when we are all in a narrower strip of land, but there's real, honest peace, I would go with that. But so far we've given one cheek or two and have been smacked and received missile rockets and let's continue. Let's continue. Okay, hate hides beside the innocent, Timothy Riley says. Pray for the kids, asks yes. All right, a very quick prayer. Adonai, Most High God, I pray to you that you keep the innocent children of this war safe from the vile hands of Hamas. May they have and all the people, but definitely the innocent children who have done nothing wrong, keep them safe, keep them out of harm's way. May the IDF's missiles, rockets, bullets, mortars, whatever it is, may it find only the targets of Hamas, and may no innocent men, women, or children die in this war. From now until it ends, may it be only the enemy, and more than that, Adonai. May it be your will that war and bloodshed will be taken away from the world entirely, and evil will be eradicated, and there will be no need for Hamas to surrender. It will be gone. And the evil ideologies which permeate the world, you will lift out of existence through our good deeds and kind actions and repentance and returning. Emet. Amen. Okay, a prayer for the kids. So many people dying in this war. So many. What is the national dish of Israel? It is falafel, nutmeg. Now, the origin, they say, is Egyptian, but that Israel has given it its twist. So it's a national dish. It doesn't have to be the origin. The origin doesn't have to be there, and it's the very same region. Also, Egyptian falafel, right, is different from Israeli falafel, and so we put our own spin on it. Admitting own shit is haram in Islam, says Rasol. Okay. Exodus says, big up Israel, fuck Palestine. Well, fuck Hamas, I say. Fuck Hamas. There is no innocent Israeli, says MWA. All right, Muslims with attitude? I disagree. There are many innocent Israelis. There are many innocent Muslims. Fun fact, the people who live at the kibbutzim, that part of the, over 1,200, 1,400 people who were slaughtered, a lot of them, and definitely some of them, were innocent Israelis who were living peacefully with their neighbors in Gaza, across the way. Ariel says, fed up with people regurgitating secondhand information they cannot verify themselves. Well, what do you mean? I say tons of things that I can't verify. I regurgitate tons of things. Why, I'd venture to say it's most of what I do here is regurgitation. Max says, the Great Inquisition was to search for the Son of God who was going to end the world and bring everyone to paradise. Paradiso. The Great Inquisition, you mean the Spanish Inquisition at the time? Quiet while there is prayer, says Bloodnose. MWA says, Jesus Christ will bring you back to truth. No, I think it's the Torah. It's the light of the Torah that will bring me back to truth. What I need to do is bring me back to Torah and find out how I can be all I can be. Nutmeg says he wouldn't say save them from the hands of the IDF. Oh, okay. There are some bastards in the IDF, individual soldiers and soldierettes, I believe, that are sadistic, psychopathic, warmongers. I believe it. So may the children be safe from them as well. Men, women, and children, the innocent ones, may they not fall into the hands of any sadistic, psychopathic IDF soldiers, which undoubtedly exist because it's such a wide, part of the population. Obviously, there will be certain people who are unbalanced there, but it's individual cases. And from even those individual cases, Adonai, protect the innocent men, women, and children on both sides of this conflict. And may only the enemy know the wrath of the IDF. And may we always remember that it's the IDF. And that it's not our strength, but yours, Adonai. Okay. B-Freak is back. Hello, B-Freak. I think you were here before. I see no reason why Israel should not be able to produce amazing whiskey, good climate for aging, good produce for barley, good people. Fun fact, yet another. A friend of mine in yeshiva, later in life, he started writing. He started a blog about whiskey, and then that became his job. And then he opened up a distillery here in Jerusalem and is making some good stuff from what I hear. And I don't drink whiskey. I don't drink any alcohol anymore. But when I did, I loved a good single malt. Expensive, but I loved it. And I don't think I've ever once bought a bottle for myself of single malt. But I love the blend. I love the malt. I loved whiskey, particularly between the fish and the meat back when I used to still eat animals. So Israel can probably produce amazing whiskey and is producing amazing whiskey. I don't know if, compared to the Irish and the Scots, who knows? But yeah, I think we are. Hebrew Nazarite, Robert Harrison says, did Alpha beard touch the floor? Aleph Alifs, you mean? Does his beard touch the floor? I have no idea. Likely. MWA, Sneezer says, we are very multicultural, chat, a good place for you to learn of others. Yeah, learn of others. Jewish pizza is good, says Robert Harrison. What is Jewish pizza? Is that a specific type of pizza? Sneezer says to MWA, he continues, beware, you are not worshipping the name or image. He will say he never knew you. He never knew you because you're worshipping a name or image? Russians are good at whiskey, Arzu says. Free Palestine, says Usman. I agree, Usman. Free Palestine from Hamas. Thank you for supporting Israel. Free Palestine from terrorism. Nutmeg says, what do you think of the Turkish-American lady that got shot by the IDF? She wasn't no Hamas, just an ordinary lady. Many ordinary men, women, and children are dying. It's the nature of war. That's what I think. I think it's a horrible thing when innocent people die. But I think that that's what happens. Especially when you have a psychopathic, religious extremist regime like Hamas that is gladly upping the human, the life toll. All the while protecting itself, all the while its leaders are multi-millionaires. Baroque Blue says Judaism is supreme egotism. It's created from a mishmash of Freemasonic understanding of ancient religions. It's not as old as people think. Moses was Tut Moses the Third. Okay, you can say it's supreme egotism. You can say it's created from a mishmash. You can say it's based on ancient religions. You can say it's brand new. I have the Torah. Yes or no? Yes. Why, I have it right here next to me. What can I learn from it? However, throughout history, this ancient religion, Freemasonry, it was passed down to me. It was taught to me by my father and my masters and my rabbis and my teachers throughout life. What is it that I'm supposed to do here? I ask myself these very questions, and I continuously ask myself these questions in study. Where is it meeting me? What am I supposed to be doing? And in my very limited experience and very limited knowledge and very limited narrow view, right, of mind, I believe that for me as a Hebrew man, studying and attempting to go in the ways of the Torah has been exceedingly beneficial for myself and those around me. And you can say it's egotism, but if it's you thinking of yourself in the sense of, I have work to do, right? What did Bob Marley and the Wailers say? I'm a living man, I have work to do. That's the Torah. It guides you, it lights the way before you. Okay. She got shot in the West Bank. It's still a war. Israel is always at war. High level, low level. Israel is always at war. Israel is always in the state of emergency. There's war everywhere in Israel, inside and on the borders and on the dubious borders. Ariel says, you won't get me commenting on what is going on in other parts of the world. Even if I think I know, I will always try to imply that my perspective is influenced and limited, as is mine. I'm just a simple civilian dumbass. God bless her, says Arzu. Indeed, I hope she didn't die for nothing. I hope that there will be peace. But there are tragedies that happen on a regular basis. With every passing second, a tragedy has befallen someone, multiple people here in the world, even right now. MWA 24. There is a reason why you are kicked out of everywhere you go. This is the reason. Yes, what is the reason? Do share, MWA. Peace Foreshared says, read all the last message which Prophet Muhammad saw brought, and you will be able to connect all of this chaos that brought everybody into the I don't know what that means. Dajjal al-Amish, except for pure Sunni Muslim. No, I don't think I will be reading the Quran. I don't think I will be going into the Prophet Muhammad anytime soon. I appreciate the offer. My view of Islam has been warped by bloodshed and war and hatred and trauma and tragedy. So I'm going to right now just do my Hebrew thing. And if I'm called or inclined to read the Quran and submit to the will of Allah and become a Muslim, then I will answer the call and see what's what. Mac Culture says, you guys don't know where you are. You're all DJ'd eyes between two DJ'd pillars. Two what? Two dead eyes? I'm not sure what you mean. You guys don't know where you are. Well, Mac, do you know where we are? Do tell me, where are we? Who are Torah's pharaohs according to you? I think that the consensus is that it's Ramses II and Ramses I, right? Where Ramses II grew up with Moses in the palace, and later it's the one that Moses confronted and said, let my people go that they may worship me in the desert, says Adonai, the God of the Hebrews. Mac says Akhenaten and Amun-Ra. Right, okay. Again, I don't deny that there are many different things that were incorporated into the Jewish, what became later the Jewish faith. We took different things and we brought them into the fold of the Hebrew path, or later the rabbinic path, the Orthodox path, whatever the case may be, as you want to say it. So, yes, all of those names, all of those things, it's simply that we say, yes, all of those gods, all very well and good, those forces of nature, those names, those revelations, are all but revelations of the Hebrew God, right? The one God that I don't know. All I know are revelations. What Hitler did was the nature of war too. Yes, it was. He had a war on the Jewish people. He saw us as vermin that had to be wiped out, that had to be cleansed of the world. We were a stain on humanity, and we had to be laundered out with a very, very harsh detergent. And he was doing God's work as far as he was concerned. He was bringing existence to be that much cleaner and more pristine, and ready to advance without the Jewish parasite inside of it, sucking on its blood, taking all its wealth, controlling, and basically making everything dirty with its Jewishness. Sneezer says to Peace Foreshared, while I agree it is much harder for non-Arabs to see and should only be read with a pure heart, you will surely misunderstand. Thus the New Testament far easier and better, said Sneezer. Shank Hunt, I'm having homosexual thoughts about you. Oh, Shank, you cause me to blush. Well, okay, be specific. What are we doing? Come on, give me some dirty talking. Timothy Riley says, id, ego, superego, reptile, monkey. Right, okay, you could go with all that, with the Freudian concepts, and you can go with evolution. The point is, once again, here I am. Where have I been, and where am I going, and why? That's what it comes down to. And all of the Torah is there to teach me how to be a better person, to hold on to the covenant more, that I will reveal myself more in the world, open up more channels of communication, be able to be that blessing to myself and to those around me. Right? What follows you, they say, after you die is Torah, commandments, good deeds. That's what we seek. And we seek to do that, right, as an end to a mean and as an end in and of itself in some ways. Because you may not have the complete understanding in fullness of why I'm doing this. You know what? God said it. This is what I'm doing. And I'm saying that as a cherry picker. Don't forget, I'm a cafeteria man. I take and choose and pick everything. I make no apologies. Nutmeg says, I'm sorry, Reagan says, is the Nazarite path our more mystic one? Do you still consider yourself Orthodox, or is it separate? So there are Orthodox rabbi Nazarites that I've met with and spoken to. There are... what do you mean by mystic? You can be a Nazarite and take on the vow and not be at all into studying mysticism, Kabbalah. I have been studying Kabbalah since 16, and so it's been something like 25 years of me, right, discovering it and not always immersed in it, but regularly trying to immerse myself in the teachings of the Kabbalah. And as I progressed in life, I've gotten further back in the different teachings. It's an interesting thing, where I started with a rabbi that was alive in the early 20th century, and his interpretation of the Lurianic Kabbalah, and then I dabbled a little bit in the Lurianic teachings, and then I went even further back to the one who was the Rabbi Luria's master for a short time, the Ramak, Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, and I've been studying the Kabbalah of the Ramak. Well, studying. I've been reading the Kabbalah of the Ramak for almost a decade now. So, is it a more mystic one? It certainly has a way of doing it, because when you, especially now that it's for life, especially now without a temple, but even when you set yourself apart, you open up, right? You create a vessel. When you set yourself apart, when you consecrate yourself, depending on the reason why you engage with it, of course, then it can open something up about you. Yes, definitely. Do I consider myself Orthodox? No, because I don't have a rabbi and I don't keep strict halacha. But modern Orthodoxy will always be my home, and Nazirut is not separate. There are Orthodox Nazarites. I would dare say that most Nazarites would be Orthodox as opposed to Reform, Conservative, Reconstructionist. Skank. Oh, it's not shank, it's skank. Skank hunt. My mistake, not shank hunt. There was a piece of dirt on the monitor and I said shank. And I was about to ask you which shank, the left or the right. It's a good thing. Okay. You smoke weed, says Kunal. Occasionally, yes I do, and I partake of it and I enjoy it. Not too often, not too much. Sometimes more often than others. I also take tolerance breaks regularly. Well, what's regular? Well, yeah, regularly. As far as what God is, we more or less agree describing takes away. Yes, indeed. Baruch says we are in a flat earth stationary realm. Just in some ways, you can conceptualize it as such. Because again, to me it means the idea of a straight line as opposed to a circle. So you could have that igulim and yosher, as it's known in the Ari, right, with the Lurianic teachings of the way God reveals himself in the world in a straight line and in a circle. So a flat earth and a spherical, let's say, earth, they both exist simultaneously. But physically speaking, I'm more inclined to think that we are spherical. All right, let's continue. You fucking wankers. With a nose, yes, you see the schnaz? Me love the schnaz. Don't let anybody force you become Muslim, including Shia people. You got it, Peace Force Shared. I won't let you down. I won't let anyone force me to become a Muslim. I hope that would be the case. I'm not interested in Islam at this time, and that is it. Okay. Merkava, tree of life within it. Timothy Riley says, well, no, the Merkava, The Merkava pertains more to the lower divine revelations. That's why it's a chariot. It's not Adonai, let's say, it's a chariot. That's what Merkava literally means. And so the tree of life, as the 10 sfirot, the 10 emanations, the Merkava is part of it, not the other way around. It's not that the tree of life is in the chariot, it's that the chariot is part of the tree of life. Ken says, Proverbs 3:13, happy is the man that findeth wisdom, with wisdom, and the man that get it, understanding, in understanding. Ashrei Adam, indeed. Okay. Peace. Oh, no, I'm sorry. A Mac Culture says to Sneezer, they changed the name. Lucifer is Amun-Ra, the Holy Ghost. Okay. Wait, what flag is that? Hydrate? What flag is that? It's the Philippines. Okay. It's very tiny. I don't know if I would have remembered it either way. Iyao watching from Philippines. Hello, Hydrate. Hello, right? Wagwan man. It's all good. It's all good, man, here in Jerusalem. Thank God I get to do this here. I had a cup of tea before, and now I have my water. And it's real good here, even in the pits and the depths of this freaking war. Timothy asks, do you think life should be like the Essenes? So the Essenes, they said, might have been a sect of Nazarites. And I do know an Essene Nazarite named Sarah Eisenman. I have a dialogue with her on the channel if you're curious about the Essenes. Do I think life should be like the Essenes? Well, since I'm not very versed in Essene teachings and culture, I will say that from what I've learned of them, we could all use to be a little bit more Essene in our way of thinking and in how we carry out Torah in the world. Yes, it should be a healthy blend, let's say, of Essenes and Chazal, right, and our sages. Let's continue. Taylor, hi Taylor, good to see you again. Since God said that dead bodies would return to dust. Wait, what are you? Hang on a second. Peaceful, I don't know what you were referring to, so I'll just go earlier in the chat. Peaceful Shared says, do your Kabbalah teachings teach people to pray in the kever, grave? No. No, the Kabbalah teaches, and where's the source of these teachings? So it's said that with righteous people, when they die, there is that, let's say, soul, for lack of a better term, that exits the body, right? The body leaves, the soul leaves, returns to somewhere else, let's put it that way. If you are righteous, they say that there is a very, very, very small fraction of the soul called the nefesh. It's like the lower soul of the lower soul. Because there are different it's a hierarchy. Now, let's put it this way, very plain and simple. A graveyard is a place of impurity and ritual uncleanliness. Okay. However, for those who seek to make a connection with somebody who is close to them, where we don't worship death, right? We are not pro-death in the Torah. We are pro-life. And going and praying at the graves of certain people if people do it in a wrong way, it can have a very pagan feel and look to it. And I don't appreciate that at all. However, those who do it and don't pray, let's say, right, those who go and solely pray to the Hebrew God, that the merits of those who are buried here may stand and influence us here in the world of the living. That is okay. Saying psalms for the elevation of the soul of he or she who can no longer say psalms, that is something that is okay. Mentioning Torah and learning, that would be okay. However, praying to the graves, to the dead, to get closer to God, that is completely non-Torah centric and is a bad thing that should be taken out and removed. As for what the Kabbalah teachings about praying at a kever, it teaches that in some cases, if it's somebody who's near to you, right, a family member or a sage, your master, or a sage from ancient times, let's say, that you feel a connection to. It can be that you are being called to go there, to where a certain fragment of their image of God still remains, awaiting the fruit of the tree of life. That's real resurrection. That's what coming back to life means. That's what the afterlife means. It's not life after death. It's life after eating from the fruit of tree of life. And in that sense, the source for those teachings is the fact that you can get closer to, let's say, the spirit or soul of somebody who's dead, and that fragment of them that is still awaiting the fruit of the tree of life, that might still be there, which is why you would go there and pray that on behalf of their merits, because of this dead sages or persons or family members' merits, because of their merits, may it influence us here. And may my words of Torah and Psalms and prayer, Kaddish, whatever the case may be, may that elevate the souls of those who can no longer elevate themselves. It's always pushing. All of creation is pushing to become better, to overcome weakness, to push that glass ceiling, if you will, higher and higher evermore, in the spiritual realms, as it were, and in the physical. But it's only us here in the physical world that can actually carry these things out in a body, which is why we have a very important role, to each his own. I hope that answers at least a bit, Peace for Shared. I don't know if it's something that you connect with, or if I raised more questions than I did answers, but yes. What if you pray for someone that's already passed? Well, what you would say then is, may their soul be elevated, right? I do a good deed, and I say it, may their memory be a blessing, and may their soul be elevated, right? I pray for them on the day of their death, the anniversary of their death, may their soul be elevated. And it's that idea of pushing creation always, always higher and higher and higher through our actions, through our deeds, through our minds, the way we talk, the way we act, the way we speak to each other and to ourselves and to the Most High. HN, do you surrender to God? Not fully yet, because there are still some very stubborn elements of me where I feel not that I'm transgressing, but that I'm not fully submitting to what God wills of me. There are still some barriers there, and I'll leave it at that. So no, I have not surrendered fully to God. However, there are certain aspects of my being which I have come to surrender to the Most High, but I, by and large, as such, right, Jonathan, no. Not because I haven't said it. I've said it many times, but I have yet to act it out 100% in the world and in all facets, which is why I surrender to God, but I haven't surrendered fully. And when I say surrender, I primarily mean God needs not reveal himself to me. God needs not prove himself to me, right? I have the revelations of God as they occur, and as well as the world revealed itself to me through nature, through Torah, through life. And I don't need God to appear in a cloud and no. I welcome every divine revelation, high or low, and I have been very fortunate and very blessed in certain times, in certain circumstances, to make a connection that is so profound and lovely, love-filled, and unique. And I hope that the more I live, the better I am able to work on myself, get my act together, and experience that surrender more and more, and pull more of that revelation into my life and into my being, that I might be able to finally, truly, continuously work on myself and be the best that I could be. Okay, you should write that down, says Timothy. I'm not sure if you're talking to me or someone else, but yes, write things down. Max says to Sneezer, dude, I'm cursed with memories. I'm not blocked at all. Space-time doesn't exist. It's all holographic in a quantum computer. Where do you think you are, LOL? So Mac, you're saying that we are in a simulation. That's a very interesting hypothesis. I've heard it before. I'm not going to agree or disagree, because what do I know? I'm a fan of limited solipsism. So it could very well be that my brain right now is just hooked up and all of this is created for me and it disappears as soon as it's out of my line of sight and recreates itself organically as soon as my vision is turned to that direction. And everything else is a complete void of nothingness. Could very well be. I too am a bit angry with God, says Bloodnose. Understandable. Understandable. There's a revelation of God that does not differentiate between the righteous and the wicked. Case in point, innocent children dying from Hamas and IDF. I don't blame you at all, Bloodnose, for being angry. But ask yourself as you are being angry, continually ask yourself, because I say continually, not continuously, because sometimes you're angry and you're just angry and things are driven out of your mind and other things take their place and you transform. So continually ask yourself why you are angry. Wait for answers from within for you, to manifest, to present themselves to you. And I hope that things happen in such a way where you will be able to be less angry with God, but I completely understand. Rasol says, not fully. It's a weirdo, but understandable. You mean me not fully? Do you mean that's what I was saying? Ella says, best way to learn something new is forget everything you know, be like a child who knows nothing. That is one way to do it, for sure. Seek and you shall find, says, who was it, Neil? Who said seek and you shall find? Oh yeah, Neil Warren. Ken, mamash. Let's continue. Hey, Just B.O.B. is here again. And Good Times TV is here again. Hello. Hey man, back again. Can you shout out Gary Glitter and Rolf Harris? So B.O.B., I have been told that those people are pedophiles. So if they are not merely people who are attracted, but are actual pederasts, I'm not sure why you would want me to shout out their names, but here goes. Gary Glitter and Rolf Harris. Gary Glitter, Rolf Harris. They were pedos and pederasts, and I think they are dead. Right? People in the chat said they were dead. Okay. Good Time says, God of Israel runs the show, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, not any fake Jesus. Praise the Lord, God of Israel. I do concur. The divine revelation for the Hebrew people, what's known as the covenant, the promise of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God runs the show indeed. And all I know are those revelations. Ken says, children are already saved and are waiting for the rest of us when they are unfortunate in life. By unfortunate, you mean kids who die? What do you mean? What do you mean by that? One random act of kindness, says Timothy Riley. Be well. Indeed, one random act of kindness. You should always be thinking of yourself, as it says in the Mishnah, right? Hanging on the balance and tipping the scales towards good or tipping the scales towards evil. And if you did a good thing, good for you. You and the entire world have become better. And if you transgressed or did a bad thing, a negative thing, then woe to you, because you, with your one thing, have now caused the entire world to be a little bit more leaning towards the negative. Rolf Harris was Australian and wrote the song Tia Me Kangaroo Down Sport. Ooh, says what? Mohammedan Epstein, says Rasol. Are you referring to pedophilia there, or pederasty, or child marriage, Rasol? I've been told that Muhammad married a minor, which is obvious because that was part of the custom, and still is the custom in some places in the world. Times have changed, but child brides still exists, and child grooms, no doubt. Good Times says, Jesus is just like the golden calf. It's nothing but a test. I don't know if you've ever read the Old Testament, but clearly it's a different God than what you have. He says to those who follow Jesus. People who follow Jesus, by all means, continue. Good Times likes to share his good news. He doesn't sugarcoat anything. He speaks it and he spits it the way he sees it. All right, let's continue. Even though the Torah, says Good Times, even though he was only talking to the Jewish people, which got the revelation, the Hebrews, he made it known that they will live in the nations with the idol worshippers. Sneezer says to Good Times, only if you choose the wrong perspective of God from the Old Testament, which is why Jesus was very much needed. Oh, yeah, hang on, got something in my teeth. Okay. Mac Couture says, God wants us to clearly conquer and make more simulations. Quantum computers, simulations, sustains upper realms. You could make that argument. Can you give me, okay, let's grant that. Let's say that we are all in a simulation. What is it that we're doing here then? And who is on the outside? Go. Good Time says, Jesus is like the golden calf, and Ventus thinks the golden calf literally was a calf that was made out of gold. That's an interesting way to go about it. I've never thought of it that way. Good Time says they're so ignorant they don't realize that the calf was lit up on fire and used to move around. That's what it's all a test. Jesus is nothing but a test to you. I wonder, are you getting that from Midrash, Good Times TV? I don't recall right now what it says about the golden calf being alive. Right? Egel Masecha. We're the energy for fuel of some sort of life. Is it human life? Or is it an alien life? And are we on Earth? Masol says, yes, child marriage was very common in ancient time, but if Muhammad was a perfect example for all time, he didn't marry Aisha. His marriage is claiming that he probably was perfect only for the 7th century, right? Bedorotav, as they say of Noah, in his generation. Ken says, same as the double mirror effect, place 2 mirrors facing each other. Okay, so we are seeing a reflection of what it is that we're doing, but to what end, Ken? To what end? You understood everything, Mac Couture said. The golden calf, said Sneezer, by the way, would look red in the firelight, hint, hint. Was the calf not melted from the people's trinkets and therefore not alive? That's at least what the plain and simple Torah would indicate, yes. Good Time says, God created the whole galaxy. It says in the Torah there's other planets. It also says that this world was created 6 times before. Well, Bonei Olamot u'Machrivan, as it says in the Midrash. Where on the 7th time the world was created, God created the earth 6 times and destroyed the earth 6 times already before this time. That's one way of thinking about it. That's one school of thought. Another school of thought says that we are in the 2nd iteration out of 7. The second one. The second 7,000 years. WD, good to see you again. Well, answer me, WD-40 or what? Which one? Which WD? Moin, moin. Klaar? Yay, Dutch. Good Times TV says, to the ignorant mind, I just read it for face value. Don't think the calf was melted gold. They don't know the calf moved around and was acting like a cow. But again, this isn't plain pshat, right? This is Midrash, if I'm not mistaken. Savachi is here once again. Good to see you here, man. What do you think about Babylon? Well, the Babylonian Empire burned down the first temple, and Babylon as, money, wealth, power, or the dark side, the Sitra Achra, the other side, the wicked side, the evil side. How do you want me, in what way do you mean Babylon? Do you mean it in the geographical location, modern-day Iraq? What do I think of Babylon as a place, as a concept, as a foe and an enemy and a destroyer of the temple? How do you see it? Plus, you believe he died for your sins, correct? Yeah, Christians. Wait, is somebody? I'm sorry, Sneezer. You're talking to Good Times TV. I'm assuming. Yes. Okay. You have no idea what I believe, Sneezer said. Okay. Aleph is Paleo-Hebrew, is the bulls. That's right, the ox. Nachon meod. Aleph, aluf. Correct. Good Times TV says, if he died for your sins, what reasons do we have so much suffering for children coming into the world suffering? What mistakes did a 2-year-old baby make? Be real with yourself and answer that. Let's see, Good Time says. Let's see what the Gentiles have to say about this. Let's see them answer this question. So, Good Times is challenging Sneezer here, or Christians, or Gentiles. Good Times TV, will someone answer the challenge? I am not a Gentile. Good Times TV says, I believe God became human and died to prove he loved us all. Good Times, Robert Harrison says to Good Times, read Hosea 2:23. Good Times says, you guys say he died for our sins. Why do we have children that are born suffering? WD says, what do you think of the theory that the tribes of Israel originate from the exiled priests of Kenaton? I am not aware of that theory, so I can't give my thoughts on it. However, it doesn't matter as far as I'm concerned where the tribes originate from. What matters to me is that I have the Torah here and now, and the traditions of my tribe, my people, my kingdom, and that's the Hebrew way, right, when you come right down to it. Past the fact that I'm, let's say, Ashkenazi, Israeli, American, Kingdom of Judah, born in a certain time, in a certain place, to a certain family, under certain restrictions and circumstances, and with certain limitations, taking all that into account, here's what I have here and now, what do I do with it? So origins are one thing, and destinations are another, meaning that the origin can be completely shrouded in mystery, but I still do have the traditions of my forefathers, and it's something that is worth looking into. And should I come to a point in life where I truly believe that it's absolute dog shit, I will abandon the religion. And I don't see that happening at all. And when I say the religion, I mean I will simply let it go, all of it. But it won't be because the origins of Israel were this, that, or the other. It would be because somehow, I've come to a place where I need to do that. Who knows? Who knows? Baruch says, Good Times TV, that is not the sin he died for. Jesus is a metaphor for truth. People put to death truth. It was crucified in the place of the skull, chopping off babies' penises and sucking on it. Yes, the metitzah b'peh, which is the third element of the Hebrew circumcision of the males. Yes, says, he destroyed original netherworld, where all people except most vile ones went, since after him people were, and an ellipsis. Yes, what's up? You're not completing your sentences. Maybe you have more to write, and you simply want to break it up for the benefit of the chat. Shalom to James Bong. God bless you all from West Kentucky. Shalom. Good to see you, James Bong. I'm coming on 2 hours here, so I think I'm going to say goodbye. Maybe like one or two more comments. No matter how much Good Times, he says, no matter how much the Jews sin in the world, there are 1 million times better than anyone that claims the righteous as a Christian. See, I don't agree with that. Righteous people are righteous wherever they're from. A righteous Hebrew is a righteous Hebrew. A righteous Gentile is a righteous Gentile. And there's no one that's better than the other. I think we all have our intimate and deep connection and to the divine revelation if we wish to have that life. And that pertains to all of us. It's simply that the Jews have the Torah and the yoke of commandments on them and the burden of meriting all that. Sorry, rolling joint, said Sneezer. Good for you. Blaze it up. Okay. So, I appreciate your time, your kind attention. I do not take it for granted. You could be doing so many other things. Why, damn near anything. But you're doing this here with me. Now, those watching live, those watching later, every sub, every like, every view, every comment, every contribution, every lurk, every horrified swipe. Everything. I hope that it will serve all of this in order for me, in a very egocentric and egotistical way, to become better. And your words, your wisdom, your questions, your contributions, your views, your likes, they embolden me and they help me, and it's fun and it's enlivening. It's nice to discuss these ideas. And for me, it would be HaTshuvah, right? Returning to who I am supposed to be. And this, I see it as part of it, right? Putting things out there, talking about things that will eventually, God willing, make their way into implementing themselves in life, here and now, so that I might be better, so that I will be able to get my act together and be better than what I am today, and in doing so, reveal that much more, perhaps, of the divine revelation in the world. Laila Tov, good night from Jerusalem. I will see you tomorrow for another live stream. Until then, peace, love, good vibes.